Chapter 9, Child Abuse, Orphanages. 85% of children in orphanages have living parents. What comes to mind when you think of an orphanage? Children living in a group home without parents, right? It's much more complex than that. After years of personal experience, the hidden truth about orphanages began to unravel for me. There are nearly 1,000 orphanages in Haiti. For years, Hope Alive supported about 15 of them with food, medical care, medicine, sewing machines, school supplies, hygiene products, toys, etc. And some of them we supported financially. We all love to bless orphans. They tug at our hearts, and we will do just about anything to make them smile. Almost every visiting team we have hosted has been drawn to visit at least one orphanage. And we accommodated their wishes before we understood, before we knew better. It might surprise you, like I said, 85% of children in orphanages have living parents. Seesaw emotion. Being loved on for an hour, even for a week, by a stranger, our visiting team of missionaries, then being abandoned again, their parents once abandoned them, and to have new strangers come a few weeks later to do it all over again and again is not healthy for an orphan. Oh, it makes us feel good, but is definitely not good for the orphan. Poverty. Most orphanages exist because of poverty. Parents who cannot afford to care for their children give up their parental rights and surrender their children. When a Haitian family sinks into poverty, it's a downward spiral almost inconceivable to our American mind. You probably cannot imagine how it would feel to experience such poverty, forcing you to give your child away because you cannot afford to feed him. We think there's a better way. Through Solace Nutrition Hospital, Hope Alive walks alongside families living in poverty. More about that later. Once, while visiting an orphanage with the mission team, we heard a mother screaming, a heart-shrieking cry begging the director of an orphanage to give her back her child. But it was too late. Her child was already sent to France, probably for a handsome price, hopefully to a loving family and not for an organ supply. Stolen. One American church group Hope Alive worked with got so emotionally involved with an orphanage near Hope Alive. I believe it sunk at least $100,000 into the building renovation. The children didn't benefit much, if at all, from all their contributions. I've witnessed a lot of gift giving from American teams to orphan children. The children enjoy those gifts for only a few minutes, though, because the gifts disappear. Right after the visitors, the gift givers, board their vehicles to return to our mission. I was in the unique position for this revelation because I would continuously return to those orphanages with new groups. I'd scour every square inch, but none of those gifts would ever be seen again. This pattern always repeated at every orphanage we have worked with. One of our faithful team supporters worked hard to raise a lot of money so each child of a large orphanage could have his or her own mattress to sleep on instead of sleeping on that metal that's beneath the mattress. Eyewitnesses told us they watched those mattresses she donated go through the front door of the orphanage and out the back door and over the back wall where someone was waiting to receive them, probably being sold. The children never slept one night on any of the mattresses that sweet little girl worked so hard to raise the funds to buy. Cigarette burns. A close Haitian friend opened an orphanage before Hope Alive was well established, years and years ago. She lives in the States, so she hired a caregiver for the children. Unfortunately, this caregiver was a monster. One of the orphaned children was an 8-year-old little girl who was rescued from rummaging at a local trash dump where she had been abandoned. The other children in the orphanage ganged up on this child. They would work together as a team of thieves and frame the child for all their thefts. Believing the lies of the other children, as punishment, the caregiver repeatedly burned this innocent little girl with cigarettes. I sternly reprimanded this woman, but she told me to mind my own business. There were no police, there was no media for me to call for this poor defenseless child. Haiti has no child welfare system, no foster care. The child ran away, preferring to live in the streets again than to be mercilessly beaten and burned with cigarettes. I never heard whatever happened to her. Every orphanage we have dealt with seems to have corrupt doctors or owners who capitalize on our sympathy. Maybe somewhere a good, godly orphanage exists. But if so, I've never found it. Rest-of-X. Instead of going to orphanages, older children can be sold as Rest-of-X by families who cannot afford to care for them. Rest-of-X means to stay with in French. Although technically, do they stay with a family when their beds are in tiny boxes built outside the family's home? These children are considered fortunate because they're not living on the street. Well, what Rest-of-X means to me is slave. Every family I have lodged with in Haiti has had at least one Rest-of-X. These kids are being abused. What I've seen is the Rest-of-X child rises very early to prepare breakfast for the family. The family's children will be dressed in their uniforms for school, while the Rest-of-X cooks, serves, and cleans. Rest-of-X don't get to go to school. They stay home and do all the household chores. I tried to connect emotionally with some of these children a few times, but sadness and detachment were so thick you could cut them with a knife. There seemed to be no one home behind those Rest-of-X eyes. Sexual abuse. Sexual abuse is very common in orphanages. Here's one example. We worked extensively for many years with the pastor of a large church who was also the director of a large orphanage and school situated next to his church. We later learned this pastor is the father of about 11 orphans who live at that orphanage. These are second generation orphan children. He repeatedly raped the orphans, impregnated them, creating more children in his orphanage. Prostitution. When we would bring the visiting missionary teams to rural Hope Alive medical clinics in the north area of St. Mark, we would stay at a hotel because we don't own a guest house there. The hotel where we stayed housed several UN peacekeeping troops. That was before the UN left Haiti. Very young girls would flock to the hotel dressed skimpily, wearing a lot of makeup. It was disgusting to see the men come out and interact with these little girls. An orphanage that we worked with for years in the western part of Haiti has now become a brothel. Most of the girls have aged out. They've grown up. Apparently, as children, they were sexually abused. Now, as adults, it seems that they're making the choice to perpetuate the profession that they were taught. Did they really have a choice, though? Mama is the name of a well-known prostitution business within walking distance to our main mission. Every Friday, Hope Alive's gynecologist would offer a ministry of free medical care to keep the prostitutes healthy. A husband of one of the prostitutes at Mama got suspicious of his wife, wondering where she was going every day to go to work. When he learned the truth about her job as a prostitute, he quit his job and supported her, and they stayed married. When we first opened Penny's Sewing Academy, I had thought it would be a brilliant idea to train prostitutes who worked at Mama to sew, to learn a new trade. I hired Madame Francois, Pastor Francois's wife, to be their teacher. Now, Madame Francois had never taught sewing class. In fact, she herself was just learning how to sew. I decided until she learned to sew, the sewing class that she learned at her school each week would be the sewing lesson that she would teach her students that week. And that actually was a brilliant idea. However, training prostitutes to learn a new profession, that turned out not to be so brilliant. Gentle, sweet Madame Francois said the prostitutes were very mean to her. Despite our efforts to help prostitutes, they were brutally rude to Madame Francois, and they had no intentions of leaving their lucrative profession. Moving forward from that experience, sewing classes would be comprised of women and men, students chosen for their gratefulness to learn a skill from which they would earn an honest living. Dear Lord, help us not to judge, but to share your love. Only your love can teach them. Chapter 10, Saving the Babies. We found a better way. Orphanages are prevalent in Haiti because of unimaginable poverty. Haiti is south of Cuba, a short plane ride from Florida. Can we wrap our minds around or grasp the harsh reality that's so close to us? Kids still die today because they don't have enough food. We at Hope Alive are committed to keeping hope alive in Haiti by keeping families together. We think Hope Alive offers a better way, deterring parents from selling or giving away their children out of desperation. Complication from malnutrition usually kills babies, either because their immune systems are too weak to fight disease or they become dehydrated from diarrhea. This unnecessary dying can and must be stopped. Malnutrition can be very serious and must be treated before it's too late. Hope Alive's lofty goal is to eradicate child malnutrition that causes death. Since 1998, we have been walking alongside struggling families who cannot afford to feed their children. Hope Alive's nutritional programs for malnourished babies include outpatient care, which is Mom Tot, and inpatient care, which is Solace, as well as temporarily housing children at Kailamu whose parents died or abandoned them in that program. How do we pay for all this? Hope Alive has 0 paid stateside employees. We are all volunteers. That makes all the difference in the affordability to help these children. It only costs a sponsor $25 a month to help save a child at Hope Alive in Haiti. We have never increased that cost. Sponsors join with desperate families in Haiti to pull them out of their dark place, bringing their hope alive. I am so grateful for those who choose to give the gift of life to bless malnourished babies in our nutrition programs. Because of their generosity, the circle of life is not broken. Over decades, many of these babies have grown up. They've lived full lives, and they're raising precious children of their own. All the glory goes to our Lord Jesus Christ. Outpatient Montauk. How do we determine when a child needs special care to treat malnutrition and should enter one of our programs? Hope Alive Clinic's Haitian doctors and nurses examine and treat patients of all ages with all types of diseases and emergencies 5 days every week. When a child comes to Hope Alive Clinic for a regular medical evaluation, it is during his examination that the child is flagged for stages of malnutrition. On Valentine's Day in 1999, Hope Alive launched our Mother Infant Nutrition Mom Tot program, serving mildly to moderately malnourished babies on an outpatient basis. This would be our first baby step in achieving our mission goal to eradicate malnutrition in Haiti. Since that day, mothers, fathers, caregivers have flocked to Hope Alive with their babies for free medical care and prenatal care, free vaccinations, free medicine, free education for raising children, lots of free food to take home to feed their families, baby clothes, and many other essential items to make their lives easier. Voodoo's strong grip on the communities we serve has loosened as we have earned their confidence and taught them to have confidence in the Lord Jesus Christ. We have come a long way successfully helping moms raise their children. The more we educate women, the less we hear comments like, "I'm pregnant right now by my husband who died 4 years ago." Samuelson's story. He fell into a category of about 15% of severely malnourished children who needed 24-hour intensive care. Samuelson's picture is on my refrigerator right now to remind me how good our Heavenly Father is, as if I could forget. Samuelson's story is not unique. We have scores of testimonies like his. He gets the limelight because Samuelson was among the first babies to be registered in Solace when it opened in 2016. Prior to launching Solace, I was on a quest to investigate ways to expand our outpatient malnutrition program. As I was snapping some pictures of moms and their malnourished babies, compassion drew me to what appeared to be a lethargic 4-year-old baby resting asleep on his mom's chest. Visiting Haiti every other month, I returned 2 months later and noticed the child had not improved. On my third visit a few months later, Samuelson and his mother were missing from amongst the mom tots coming to Hope Alive for treatment. That 15%. Upon inquiring why mom and baby were gone, I learned Samuelson was no longer in our outpatient program. I also learned this little 4-month-old baby was actually a 2-year-old toddler. He fell into a category of about 15% of severely malnourished children who needed 24-hour intensive care. This care was not available for little Samuelson in Haiti. While we were very grateful to have an 85% success rate, what about Samuelson and that 15% who would not recover from treatment at our outpatient Mom Tot clinic? I will explain a few reasons why some children do not recover with outpatient nutritional care alone. Hope Alive provides a special protein food consisting mostly of powdered whole milk, peanut butter, and vitamins. Mildly to moderately malnourished babies respond well to this food, but severely malnourished babies' bodies are extremely delicate, and they can't always digest this complex protein. Another reason some babies don't gain weight is they have intestinal parasites sucking their nutrition from them. Hope Alive's laboratory draws blood samples as well as tests each child for parasites. If he has parasites, We administered medicine to expel them. Once the worms are gone, the child will begin to gain weight from eating our delicious peanut butter and milk food. If the child does not gain weight after he is a little stronger to handle the complex protein and after he is free of parasites, simply put, he's not being fed the food we provide. Either mom is eating the food herself, she's selling it, or she's giving the food to her older, healthier children. Haitian moms know that the chances are better for a healthy person to survive, survival of the fittest. In Haiti, the man in the household is fed first, down the line until the sickest and weakest are fed last, if anything's left. Some children did not survive in our outpatient program because moms were not always faithful to feed that sickest child. I know we all have a hard time understanding this way of thinking. I try not to be too hard on these moms when I think about that. Everyone is hungry in Haiti. All mama's kids are hungry. Mom's hungry. Taking the food home without supervision might have been just too tempting. So, back to Samuelson. He's out of the program, and I felt we needed to do more to help him recover. We needed to open a 24-hour inpatient facility to be sure the sickest kids got fed, because the only way we could be sure they got fed was to put that food into those kids' mouths ourselves. That was how Solace was born. Inpatient Solace Nutrition Hospital. 24-hour care would be an enormous expense and a crazy leap of faith. Over the years, each new endeavor at Hope Alive was launched before funding was established in blind faith. God blessed every single expansion. My heart broke a few years earlier for a sick woman who had walked miles to hear me say, Hope Alive Clinic isn't open on Wednesdays. I remember how terrified I was, feeling nudged to open our clinic on an extra day every week from 3 to 4 days. Because my heart had broken for that woman, I made that step in faith. Soon I felt nudged to do it again, adding another day each week from 4 to 5 days. Each additional clinic day raised our expenses by 20% with no promised additional funding. This would be a huge additional expense. But I had faith God would provide, and He did. When we went from 3 to 5 days, He provided, and that boosted my faith. Now, Solace 24-hour nutrition hospital would be a much bigger challenge. It could not develop gradually, all at once. We had to hire around-the-clock nurses, more doctors, nurses' aides, more janitors, more security guards, etc. A nutritional hospital was a new concept, so training our staff would be intensive. We also had to buy medicine and provide food for 20 to 30 babies to eat 5 times a day, all without new or established sponsorships. This would be an enormous expense and a crazy leap of faith. Like Hope Alive had been in all stages of growth, Solace was a learn as you go and trust God endeavor. Samuelson and those 15% of babies who would not recover from malnutrition without this intervention would be worth it. And I believe God would provide everything we needed. And miraculously, He did. We took that blind leap of faith, and we just went for it. 10 babies got registered that day in the middle of June in 2016. Samuelson was one of them. The malnourished baby inpatient numbers doubled very quickly. After 3 days in solace, being nurtured, loved on, and of course fed, lethargic Samuelson no longer had flies swarming all over him. He surprised us all. He rose from his lying position in his crib, gripped the sides, and he stood up. Not much later, he began walking. I was beyond stunned, watching how quickly Samuelson and the other severely malnourished babies responded to the loving care and, of course, the food provided by the Hope Alive staff at Solace. Hope Alive is not just about saving babies. It's about sharing the love of Jesus, who changes hearts for his eternal kingdom. During his quick transformation, Samuelson's mother looked very troubled. She would come to Solace, but sit outside. She would never go inside to see him. One day I asked her if she was happy with Samuelson's progress. She looked down and away, and she said, "Of course I am. He's a new child." Guilt was written all over her face. I told her I was so proud of her for allowing him to come to Solace, and what a good mom she was. Then I wondered, who just said that? Who was speaking? How did those words come out of my mouth? I couldn't believe I heard myself say that. It must have been the Lord leading me. I didn't know her situation, but to my thinking, she certainly did not appear to be a candidate for winning any Good Mom award. Upon hearing my encouragement, Samuel's mom's expression changed. Tension lines and shame left her face. Immediately, she began visiting with Samuelson, playing with him, interacting with him, and after that, she came to visit inside every day. Samuelson's mom's heart, like so many others' hearts, were transformed. Unlike an orphanage, when a baby at Solace is well, we return him back to his parents. Many months after Samuelson went home, as a normal 2-year-old child, every baby that leaves Solace, like Samuelson, is a miracle. Malnutrition is not a quick fix. You see quick changes, but for the child to reach his goal weight, it can take several months, often more than a year. Even though, as in Samuel's situation, some changes occurred quickly, full recovery and sustained weight gain, they take a while. We join each child with a sponsor at $25 per month to share the cost of Hope Alive's around-the-clock medical professionals, medicine, lots of food, cooks to prepare the food, cleaning, laundry staff, etc. Hope Alive also pays all the hospital bills. When a child needs to leave Solace to go to a specialized hospital and more advanced hospital, Hope Alive pays for that. When kids complete their individualized nutrition program at Solace, they graduate, and we send them home, healthy, to their families. Unfortunately, however, some kids either don't have parents or they need refuge from abusive parents. In America, we're blessed with a safe and healthy foster care system, and foster families offer temporary homes for abused children. Families in Haiti, they don't have this. They don't receive government assistance, and they're too financially strained to take care of their own families to open their homes and extend a blessing of foster care. What then? Kailamu House of Love was birthed as a temporary home, not an orphanage, where children who graduated from Solace without parents can continue to be loved and nurtured until their parents or permanent homes are found. Kailamu accommodates this small percentage of kids. They're healthy, they're fully recovered, but they don't have families to return to. Their parents abandoned them. Despite our efforts to find them, and with all the unrest and gang violence, the parents disappeared. They never came back to Solace to get their healthy child, and we assume that many of them are dead. Due to the country being in chaos with gang violence, of course, the Hope Alive guest house was not operating. The upstairs portion of the guest house, including Frank and Leslie's apartment, was transformed into Kyla. Once these kids reach Haiti's school age, 3 years old, now Hope Alive has to pay their tuition because education isn't free. There's a 5% of kids that unnecessarily die, and that must be stopped. To recap, babies are examined by our doctors at Hope Alive Clinic during normal baby checkups, where malnourished ones are flagged and they enter into our free to them nutrition program. If they are mildly to moderately malnourished, they're treated as outpatients in our Mom Tot program. But if they're severely malnourished, and then 15% of them are, they'll be registered in our inpatient Solace Nutrition Hospital for intensive treatment. Once again, Hope Alive needs to do better. It's heartbreaking that despite 24-hour intensive medical care, love, and nourishment, 5% within the 15% group of severely malnourished babies, they're still dying. I had just fallen asleep when the leader of a youth team lodging at Hope Alive nudged me awake. One of our babies died. Those words never get easier to hear or swallow. Jolted, I jumped to my feet, dressed, and ran to Solace Nutrition Hospital next to our guest house. There lay a little bundle, wrapped in a blanket, laying on a bench. There was no mother to call. Mom was only 16 when she died right after she gave birth. His father had already made it clear he had no concern for the child. It was late, but Eves, our security guard, was already out on the road, trying to find the baby's young auntie. The youth group gathered around and wept. Adults and youth alike broke and wept like I've never seen anyone weep for any of our babies before. We found an empty Huggy box and a beautiful hand-sewn blanket for our baby's burial. That was one incident this youth group will never forget. The little guy had died from dehydration, from diarrhea. His little veins were smaller than a newborn's, and his intravenous line just wasn't getting that fluid into his little body fast enough. Despite all Solace does to save babies, why do 5% of that 15% who are severely malnourished still sometimes die? The reason is because parents often bring their child to Hope Alive too late to be saved. We need to educate Haitian parents better so they know the warning signs. Unnecessary dying from food insecurity can and must be eradicated. Malnutrition must be treated before it's too late. In addition to better educating parents, we also need to expand Solace to accommodate more children. We're working hard to bring that 5% to zero. Will you join us? How can I help? Only $25 a month can save a baby. Hope Alive has not yet completed its mission. Malnutrition, accompanied by unnecessary death, is far from being eradicated. To the contrary, since gangs have taken over the country of Haiti, hunger and malnutrition have become much more widespread. The problem, sadly, is getting worse instead of better. Our stateside administrator, Mom Tot coordinator Jolene, has done a tremendous job selflessly running this program. If you would like to help a family stay together, And if you would like to save a malnourished child in Haiti for only $25 a month, please let us know. The more sponsors Hope Alive has, the more babies that we can save. www.hopealivehaiti.org is our website. Also, Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. HopeAliveHaiti@yahoo.com is our email address, and 609-234-3629 is our phone number. Our address, you can mail checks, Hope Alive Haiti, P.O. Box 964, Medford, New Jersey 08055. Now on our website is a PayPal link if you'd like to help. www.hopealivehaiti.org.